G'day, Nicola here. I've got a book review for you today. It's called Nuked and it's all about a sunken submarine deal. The show today is brought to you thanks to the Your Family Stories system, which helps you sit down with a loved one and record their life stories in whatever format you choose. Now, I have free sections for this system towards the end of the show, so please hang about with me and I'll give you the link to that free gift. The full title of this book is Nuked, the Submarine Fiasco that Sank Australia's Sovereignty, and it's been written by Andrew Fowler. Now, it is a detailed, true story about a deal that's gone wrong worth billions. And Fowler is a renowned journalist. He actually picked up the United Nations Peace Prize, and he goes over exactly how the Australian government reneged from the French on a submarine deal. So it's been put out by Melbourne University Publishing, and it picked up the Walkley Book Award, which is very prestigious. And in the show today, I'm going to go over a bit more about what this book is about, what I found interesting when I was reading, and also things we can learn when we examine Fowler's writing, things that we can take away and adapt and inspire our own writing. So let's jump into a bit more about Nuked. So in the paperback edition, it's about 224 pages, pretty good, hefty read, and it starts when the Australian government is looking to purchase some new subs. Our current subs, they're getting on, we needed to get some new ones. And so they're looking around globally, going to different countries, sussing out options. They get to the French, they end up making a deal worth 66 billion. So this is no pocket change. This is quite a bit of money. Anyway, it's good for both countries. There's obviously the economics of it all, but there's the skilled and the shared culture and the nation building between us. But we get a change of Prime Minister, and in walks Scott Morrison, and he does a secret deal called AUKUS, which is AUKUS. And this involves Australia going to the US to purchase nuclear submarines. So as you could imagine, the French, when they learn about this secret deal, they're none the wiser. They're pursuing they think they're all okay with Australia's submarine deal. They hear about it and they are gobsmacked. Like, we've signed, we've planned, we're getting on with that deal. Supposedly it's just been ripped up. And then of course the Australian public is like, what? We have a long-standing tradition of being anti-nuclear. What the heck is going on? How come we're signing on to nuclear submarines? So very, very controversial AUKUS. But what do I find interesting? Now we know a little bit about the book. As a reader, there's heaps of things in here that you're going to kind of blow your mind about. For me, the first one was how much time it takes and how complicated it is to purchase big pieces of military equipment like submarines. Like, we're talking decades. You put in your order, it might come in a couple of decades. So you've really got to put a lot of thought into it. It's big bickies in terms of the outlay for the taxpayer. You've got to make sure you got it right. So there's a lot that goes into that decision, and it's not one that's taken lightly, usually. The other thing that you're going to learn when you read Nuked is the difference between submarines. I had no idea that there were so many different types, the pros and cons of each. For example, the diesel subs that we currently have, they need to be refueled, obviously, but they're very, very quiet. Like, they can switch off out in the ocean and they can use eavesdropping, I suppose. So they're very quiet, they're like a fly on the wall. No one can sense that you're there. They go under the radar. The nuclear, by comparison, you can't switch these things off. They're nuclear powered. They're always going to be just purring, and they have these sound signatures and heat signatures, obviously, because the water around them coming out is a little bit warm. But the benefit of the nuclear subs is they can go a long, long time in terms of distance, and they don't need refueling. It's a little bit noisy, but the pros, yeah, you can get range out of those. So there, big eye-opener of the different types of submarines, because I do not have a clue about that. But most interesting for me as a reader was finding out about the political whims and how that can really change the trajectory for a big purchase like submarines. So, you know, there might have been, there was a lot of research planning that went into the French deal, but you know, that just got thrown out the window pretty quick, basically by some opinions of a political party or a prime minister. And that's not necessarily, like when you boil it down and you look at it from all angles, the sovereignty and the taxpayer dollars, yeah, it's debatable. Is this the right decision for a country? Is this the right decision for its citizens? So that was a huge learning for me reading this book. But now let's put on our life story creators' hats. Now, reading other people's works, especially award winners by Fowler, who I said is an amazing investigative journalist, we can learn so much about the craft, and we can see the magician's hands at work when we look at it from this perspective. We get some ideas and some tips that we can adopt to improve our own writing. So the first thing that pops to mind was how Fowler takes a really complicated topic and he gets you from the first chapter, from the first few pages, and he does that through people stories. Now, he hasn't done like an essay style start to this book. He's used a story of someone doing something to build intrigue for us to identify with them and find out. We want to know what's going to happen next. And that's because people love people stories. We are conditioned for stories. And that is a great way. Put the people first in your story. Tell the key elements of your life story using people and dialogue. That's going to get a reader in. And journalists know that. He's done so many interviews for this work, and they're all scattered throughout the book. That really keeps you motivated, keeps you interested and engaged. The second thing that Fowler does that's awesome is he puts in some historical background. Now, again, a very complicated subject. He doesn't make it dry. He basically translates what is military speak, government speak, into plain English, which is incredibly helpful because we get to understand the context in which this deal was made and how we as a nation have had, you know, different sentiment towards different types of military weapons, etc., and energy sources. So he does a wonderful job about the historical background. The other thing that he does is he layers in so many details to expose or shine a spotlight on the Prime Minister and his decisions. So, for example, I'm talking about he looks at media coverage at the time, military reports, also ministerial diary entries. He's like peeling back the onion layers to get to the truth. And boy, does he do that. So great way of using sources to get to the truth and amplify what really happened. So there you go. That is Nuked, a book review, and it's a Walkley Award winner by Aussie investigative journalist Aussie Fowler. Now, I've talked a bit about what the book is about, what you might find interesting as a reader, and things you can take away and learn for your own life story creating. But most importantly, when you read this work, I hope that you will find, or you will take away, that the truth really does sometimes lurk beneath the surface, and you might have to go digging to find that. And 100% your readers will thank you for it. Now, this show is a summary of a larger article I have about this book review over at my website. I invite you to go check it out. Go to foreveryoungautobiographie.com/nuked. Over there's a photo of Fowler with his book. There's quotes from the book, links to buy the book, and much more. Really invite you to go have a look. And while you're there or while you're here, leave me a comment. I'd love to know what you thought of the book, or if you have any other book recommendations, book review recommendations for me. And you can leave me a comment, as I said, or email me at foreveryoungautobiographie.com/contact. I can help you with any questions you might have, whether you're planning a life story project, you're creating one, you're like polishing it and getting it ready for publishing. Drop me a line, I'd love to hear from you. Now, when I started the show, I mentioned the Your Family Story system. This is where I hold your hand and we walk step by step through the process of getting a loved one to sort of take or consider the idea of recording their life stories and then setting up an interview, doing the interview and getting some of those memories recorded. That can be lots of different formats. It can be simply recording it, or then you can transcribe and put it into an article or a longer form book perhaps, or any other media. There's so many options you can develop content or interview material into these days. Now, in the Your Family Stories system, I go through that, but today's show, I'm giving you free access to the first few sections of that system so you can see if it's for you. To get the freebie and some other freebies I offer, go to foreveryoungautobiographies.com/free. Go check it out. I know you will find it helpful. So that's me for this week. I'm so grateful that you're here. I'd love it if you could subscribe, like the show, share it with a friend. And I really, really love any reviews that you could leave, any authentic reviews. They're really helpful to me. And until then, I will see you soon with another show. Happy writing.